Y'all, I'm not gonna ramble too much in this intro. We're just gonna jump right into it, everybody. Oh my goodness. It's getting real, everybody. It's getting really real. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, but two things quickly. Very brief ramble this time around. I am watching this on YouTube, this video, for this album title announcement. And I do see on it, the thumbnail that says Hurry Up Tomorrow. Which ties in, I guess, the other thing is that I did unfortunately see on Twitter a screenshot of a post that someone in the Weeknd subreddit made who's knows somebody or something affiliated working wise with the Universal Halloween Horror Nights, that's what it's called, in Hollywood right now. It's in Hollywood and Orlando, but in Hollywood they have the Weeknd Nightmare Trilogy thing, and it's officially opening up, I believe, tomorrow evening on Thursday on the 5th. I know there was like a preview thing last night, and I did see like an imagery of like a, I'll just say, like a self-harm, like, bathtub thing, very reminiscent of, like, Stephen King's It, with a young Abel, and this, like, jumping, like, demon thing. It looked very interesting. And, but somebody, who was, working there, or no, it's, how they found some information somehow from somebody there, that apparently, according to them, the album is called Can't Wait Till Tomorrow. The thumbnail's saying Hurry Up Tomorrow. So I don't really know exactly, what the title is, which I'm glad. At least now from the thumbnail, I know that it might not be exactly what I thought it was going to be. But let's get into it. Album title, announcement, here we go. Also, because I completely am just going right now. I'm going like 100 billion miles an hour, 240 tempo, like all that stuff. My name is Alex Chantal, for anyone who hasn't watched me before. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And here we go, everybody. Okay, so I'm turning on some video, whatever this is. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play. Oh. This is like Blade Runner. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is sick. This is sick. More songs could help, but what do I have left to say? The SoFi Stadium. Y'all, Okay, so is the title Hurry Up Tomorrow? Okay. Can we talk about how frickin' eerie this sounds? I can't tell if it's something that's being played like slowed down or like reversed. Like there's some, it sounds amazing though. Okay, is that the title? Okay, Hurry Up Tomorrow. Okay, so that is the title. Okay, let's quickly go actually back now and read this text again. This reminds me a lot. The first thing I'm thinking of, there's probably other examples of like works or stuff that have done stuff like this, but this reminds me a lot of Blade Runner. Like the feel of it and sort of like that kind of like existential sort of like crisis, or just like, like the longing of, like a work like Blade Runner does. The first Blade Runner is very good. Blade Runner 2049 is a masterpiece. That film is amazing also. Shout out to that film also. But yeah, and obviously that kind of makes sense too, when we think about, Tears in the Rain. This also kind of reminds me a bit of like Gaspar Noé also, if anyone's familiar with Gaspar Noé. Actually, I have examples, actually. Like I said, it does remind me of Blade Runner. Like, if you look at, like, the text, like, this was the Best Buy sticker. Best Buy! Why'd you stop selling physical media? Anyways, I'm gonna be a nerd for a second, but, this reminds me of, like, Blade Runner with the text. So clearly I'm assuming with, like the crawl, like, that's what I'm assuming. It was also kind of reminds me, like, the eeriness of, like, stuff like Gaspar Noé also. And sort of, like stuff like he did, like, Irreversible and stuff like that, and, like, like the way that like the eeriness of it and like that atmosphere and sort of like really like fully going into like trauma and stuff like on a cinematic level. And like I can tell that from this in terms of like the influences, because this era is so like cinematic right now. Oh my god, like I've always really part of why I've always loved Abel so much and why he became my favorite artist of all time is because of how much he loves cinema and puts it into his own music. And this one is definitely gonna be his most cinematic era. I mean, this is literally gonna hopefully be the Trey Edward Schultz film coming out. Okay, so let's get into this quickly, this text. Okay, so yesterday was 14 years ago. We held our breath falling into a shimmering sea in the after hours of the night. Attempting to cleanse the wounds with melodies and lights, a bulletproof bandage to shield what lies beneath. In a place where the seasons never change, where time ceased to exist, but therein lays the problem. If I'm being insensitive speculating on this, please someone call me out and let me know. But as far as I'm aware, let me think. House of Balloons came out, was it 13 years ago now? It came out in 2011. So 2022, 2020, yeah, so 13 years ago now. Thursday also has been out for 13 years. Echoes of Silence is 13 and like December 21st, I think, 22nd. What I'm assuming he's referencing is maybe like leaving home with like when he left home and became homeless and he lived with like Lamar and like started working on like House of Balloons. I mean, he was making music as Abel originally, if people didn't know that, and also like, you know, the Kincaid name and stuff like that. But, you know, specifically like talking about like House of Balloons and like back then attempted to cleanse the wounds of melodies and lights, a bulletproof bandage sealed with lies beneath, like addressing all of that like pain and vulnerability and like sorrow, and a bulletproof bandage to shield what lies beneath, like this like confidence and this like this aura and this like ego and persona that you build for yourself through your art and your music, through like the melodies and the lights and stuff like that, you know, like the blinding lights, like, you know, like they're blinding you of like, you know, like what you're truly made of and stuff like that. And it consumes you and you're not like fully addressing what lies beneath. And again, like, you know, in a place where the seasons never change, you know, it's not referenced to, you know, like Canada and like Toronto and Ontario and, you know, Montreal, those places, and where time ceased to exist, but therein lays the problem. I mean, something that actually I'm going to grab even more of physical media. Give me a second. There may be some more albums I can think of later on, but I was going to reference this whenever the first single comes out for this album, because what this trilogy is most reminding me of in a lot of ways, and it's it's different definitely aesthetically, and I only own one of the albums from the trilogy, and then I own sort of like an album that came out after this trilogy that I do consider part of this journey that David Bowie went on. But if we want to talk about the Berlin trilogy by David Bowie, and we want to talk about Scary Monsters and Stupid Freaks, these are the only two albums I own from this sort of era. I don't own Heroes and Lodger. Or Lodger, however you pronounce that. But to focus on Low specifically, you know, the whole trilogy is incredible. Whole trilogy is incredible. But specifically with this one, Low here. On this one, David Bowie, I feel like in a lot of ways transcended music and just like pushed boundaries like never before. And I mean, a lot of the producers, you know, definitely I feel like are owed to that, you know, especially Brian Eno, you know, who is involved with this entire trilogy. Brian Eno was on every single song on side B of this album. Side B of this album is like ambient. Which is like my favorite kind of music. Ambient music's my favorite genre of music, and like it's just absolutely incredible, like amazing. This is very random, but Brian Eno from like 1976 or so, 1977 to like 1980 is my favorite producer of all time. Probably because the stuff with Talking Heads is like also unbelievable, and then his solo stuff. You know, like Ambient 1, music for films, even in something with like Harold Budd, Ambient 2, you know, like this like probably my favorite producer of all time, honestly. I feel like there's a lot of similarities, actually. I'm kind of in this for the first time. I feel like there's a lot of similarities between Abel and Mike Dean, because I feel like Mike Dean, like nothing against the other producers he's worked with, but I feel like Mike Dean is definitely like the one that I feel like is like really production-wise pushing Abel to a place that like he's like deeper than before, you know? And we're fully going deep and deconstructing the artist. And what is like the depth of an artist? Like, copying a little bit off of like the Pitchfork review of this that came out in the 2016 or I believe or so. It talks about how this album sounds like the death of an artist and like deconstructing the artist. The album is very like blunt into your face and straightforward, but then like side B has this somberness and this like ambiance to it, quite literally, and these just like these textures and just these like feelings, you know, and it creates this like hollowness but also sort of like introspection that you've never quite experienced with David Bowie before. And the whole trilogy, Berlin trilogy, is really him deconstructing himself as an artist, and especially I feel like on Low is like, you know, like the beginning of that in a lot of ways. And and being like, like, who am I and stuff like that. And David Bowie around that time also was admittedly also going through a lot of drug addiction problems at the time. And Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, when this came out, I believe this came out in 1980, I believe so, if I remember correctly. This one he got back with some of his producers that he used to work with, and stuff like that, and he got sober and he got clean. And his life really, really turned around for the better. And there's a lot of very similar topics, like, Bowie sings about, like he never really changed what he talks about, like that's the thing that I feel like I might be wrong on this, but when Abel transitions to not making music as The Weeknd anymore, just as Abel, I'm assuming, the topics might be the same, of course, but like who you are as a person is different, like you can still talk about some of the same things, or like, like address the same things, the same vulnerabilities, but be like a completely different person, and I feel like these David Bowie albums I hear are a really good representation of that. But the other thing I want to reference too, and I've talked about this album in depth a little bit already when I went to go see Bob Dylan live for the second time last year, but Rough and Rowdy Ways by Bob Dylan. This was his album that released in 2020. I love this album. I think this is one of Bob Dylan's best albums, in my opinion. And this album is quite literally him, like, deconstructing himself and addressing a lot of traumas, and like vulnerabilities and things that like inspire him and make him who he is as a person, I think this album is brilliant, and I'm a massive Bob Dylan fan, admittedly, so I am a bit biased in terms of how much I get into like, him talking about his vulnerabilities and, his own perspective and stuff and like that, because Bob Dylan has always had a very unique perspective of his own, but especially on this one, at the age that he's at. I talked about it when I went to go see Bob Dylan live the second time. But there's something about, as sad as it is, artists who've put so much of their own statements and vulnerabilities in their music and dissected themselves, for their entire career, in their own like, interests and stuff like that, and the way they see the world, their own perspective, but like getting to like an older age in life and just like, in a lot of ways like getting it, finally in a kind of way. There's also like an amazing quote by Martin Scorsese recently, from I believe almost like a year ago or so, when Coast of Flower Moon was coming out. I forgot the exact quote of it, admittedly. I believe he was referencing, was it Akira Kurosawa? I think it was, talking about how, like, I finally understand the purpose of art and cinema because of the age that I'm at. Like, I finally understand, like, what cinema really is and the power of it. And I feel like Abel, he's only 34, but I feel like he's going for a very similar thing right now. I mean, when, to kind of jump ahead, because something I knew was going to be referenced, because the only real leak I know about the film, if that comes out, is the fact that it does address, like, the SoFi Stadium losing his voice back in September 2022. It says, the very thing that once made me invincible failed me on the world stage. A new trauma surface, opening floodgates, a new path awaits. Going back to the beginning, where he's talking about, like, blinding all of that with, like, the melodies and the lights and, like, his bulletproof bandage, but, like, that lies the problem in having what made you feel invincible, is just gone, and just how much that shakes you, there's a quote that Abel said in his interview with Zane Lowe from 2016 during Starboy, where he said, like, like, once you start cutting off the people that, made you who you are, start, like, losing who you are. And it's not the exact same, of course, but I feel like you can kind of take that concept of, like, what made you you, like what have you done to make yourself who you are, and the thing that makes you feel the most safe in this world and gives you the most comfort, when that's ripped away from you in the most just like intense way imaginable as an artist, it really does open the floodgates, and it's a trauma that you have to process and stuff like that, and I believe Abel talked about in an interview for The Idol, if I remember correctly, talking about how when that happened, the SoFi Stadium show, he kind of like took care of himself. I hope I'm getting this quote right, but he said, like, I'm taking care of myself for the first time in certain ways. There's just like stuff like that changes you fundamentally as a person, like that, like, because that, like, you can't, like, it just changes you, and it's so valid. I'm interested in hearing how it's fully addressed, if he talks about it on this album, or if maybe like it's sort of just like the concept that's going to be explored, like, like visually, and stuff like that, because of the film that's coming out and stuff like that. But we'll We'll have to see. To continue the rest of it, today has felt like an endless spin. I keep distorting the truth, immune to the dizziness, numb to the nausea, what lies beneath screams and silence. I look in the mirror and feel both old and new, stuck in limbo and unable to move. I still haven't faced myself. Oh my gosh. Man. Um, this is absolutely brilliant. This is one of my favorite things I think I've ever seen Abel do, honestly. Like, this is incredible. Today has felt like an endless spin. Kind of, I guess, maybe today has felt like, let me go back to the beginning. Yesterday was 14 years ago today. So kind of like, maybe like focusing back on like, or having like these like traumatic like flashbacks or like episodes or stuff like that. Like or just focusing just on like the things that have built you up and like that paranoia and that pain, that anxiety building up. But also like this like specific moment today or something that triggered you. I keep distorting the truth, immune to the dizziness, numb to the sea, like knowing what's there but you're flipping it, sort of like masking it, and immune to the dizziness of like like that, like you can't like see straight, and numb to the nausea of just like letting go, I guess, to keep it not gross. What lies beneath screams in silence. I look in the mirror and feel both old and new, stuck in limbo and unable to move. I still haven't faced myself. And that part specifically, obviously very different experiences between me and Abel, but talk about my own personal connection right now quickly to this. Like, I really, really feel that in a lot of ways. It's very different, of course, but, as somebody who has gone under what I consider like a rebirth, there's so many times where you look in the mirror and you feel both old and new, because there's so much about you that's like awakening or feeling re-enlightening and stuff like that. But at the same time, there is just so much there that like is new because of your old self, like trauma responses. You're stuck in that limbo of not being able to find peace from it, and I'm unable to move because like you're stuck while living in the new and becoming the new, but but like you're acting based off of like the old and just kind of and just feeling like it, like that's what's really important. Also, just feeling like it. I still haven't faced myself, like focusing on the old and the new, at the same time, like what has made you you, and like going back to like as he talks about at like the beginning, yesterday was like 14 years ago, we're like this, we really, really began like addressing this and like masking this, trauma and stuff like that. But like I still haven't faced myself. Then it goes on to say, more songs could help, but what do I have left to say? Oh, woe is me. Who's this? I'm probably pronouncing that really incorrectly. My apologies. Is me in my glided cage, right? The very thing that once made me invincible, filming the world stage, a new trauma surfaced, opening floodgates, a new path awaits. More songs could help, like that as an artist, there's so much that you only feel safe and comfortable expressing, and feel like you can only fully express like through art. And there's just like a certain just like there's a healing and a peace, and just stayed like there's a part there's a piece of you that is able to kind of just like be filled, or you're able to understand it, through art. And some more songs could help, but what do I have left to say? Like what is there else left to say as the Weeknd? Is me in this glided cage, right? And like a cage is a topic many artists talk about. Like Billie Eilish talked about this a lot on her masterpiece that came out a few months ago, Hit Me Hard and Soft, talking about like I feel like a bird in a cage and stuff like that. Like trying to like fly out of the cage and go like be free, but you're in like a cage and stuff like that, like a glided cage. Like he's talking about there. And the very thing that was invincible filled me on the world stage and trauma surface, opening floodgates, and talking about like like how like that was like like the key. So a new path awaits. When today ends, I'll discover who I am. Yeah, I mean, I'm somebody that to get a bit personal, when it comes to moments where I feel like a new chapter is opening, or sort of like another like reawakening or rebirth kind of thing, I've always feel like when today ends, or like the next like tomorrow and stuff like that, that like that's when like I'll discuss, like I'll be at peace, like to find the peace, and stuff like that. So a new path awaits, like like a new way of thinking, and a new search, and like a new beyond and horizon and stuff like that. And then at the end, you know, Hurry Up Tomorrow is the title of the album. That I like that quite a bit. I like it. And so yeah, so it does seem like the color of the album is going to be this like rusty orangey kind of color, which is pretty cool in my opinion. There was a rumor for quite a long time that the album was going to be purple themed, which a purple themed Abel album would make me feel things I never thought I could feel. So maybe the next one, maybe the first album as Abel will be purple, maybe because then it'll be sort of like, you know, like just like the rebirth fully, and you know, being like in that heaven sort of like, you know, landscape, you know, and stuff like that. Because I think that's honestly kind of brilliant, the coloring of this. Wow, that's actually really beautiful thinking about it. We're not like jumping aesthetically right into that sort of like healing. It's like we're out of the purgatory and we're gonna go through the healing, you know, like going up the staircase, you know, being guided out of the waters and stuff like that, and just like fully just like addressing and just like deconstructing the artist and stuff like that, and who you are as a person and stuff like that. Yeah, I cannot wait. This is awesome. I love this. This is so sick. And so I'm sorry that was kind of a long explanation of sorts. Yeah, that's the title of the album. That is so sick. And so yeah, so I guess I'll wrap this up for now, by saying that just to let people know, on Saturday evening after the Sao Paulo show, when the live stream happens on YouTube, I will be going live with my amazing friend Kevin Falk, and we'll be talking about the show live together. For music reactions, because I know there's going to be some songs performed during that that have not been performed before, released before, what I think I'm going to do is when I'm watching it, I might do what I did when Scared to Live happened on Saturday Night Live, where I just do like some like phone reactions and stuff like that, and I'll just like include that in like via the live stream or like a separate video to upload. I think that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, so there will be a live stream happening with my friend Kevin Falk. I will schedule it after I upload this video also. And so yeah, and so that is that. I can't wait. Hurry up tomorrow. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And so yeah, so thank you for watching this. If anybody watches my content, thank y'all. Y'all are amazing. And I cannot wait. I can't wait. Abel, Weeknd. Yeah. Woohoo. And so yeah. Alrighty. I will see y'all very, very soon. Alrighty. Bye.